So good afternoon, Lisa. Thanks for joining us on Business Owner Spotlight. Do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself and tell everybody a little bit about what you do and how long you've been doing it?
No problem, Scott. Thanks very much for having me on. Much appreciated. So my name's Lisa Park and I am partner at Studio Park Architects. We're based in Belfast. And I am also a lecturer, part-time lecturer at Ulster University as well. And I'm a passive house designer, a certified passive house designer. I'll maybe explain that in a bit more detail later. But yes, so we're a small architectural practice. We're based in Belfast, as I said, but we do work mostly in Northern Ireland, but also down the west coast into Sligo, Galway, Donegal. We've done work in Dublin as well. So we've sort of spread our wings that way. And we work mostly in the residential sector, but again, we've experience in many different sectors and previous practices. And we cover everything really, from sort of initial concept designs, feasibility studies, through to planning applications, building control applications, tender process, and management or construction as well. So yeah, it's really from start to finish, just depending on what clients need. Cool. And yes, my business partner is also my husband, Ronan. We've known each other from sort of first year in Queen's, more years than I care to say. And I've 3 young children, which keep us very busy. They're sort of between 7 and 2. And so that's a big part of my life. Obviously, they keep us very busy, and I like to paint in my spare time. I'm trying to do a little bit more of that now as well. So, and I'm an avid traveler. Unfortunately, I haven't got to do as much in the last few years, but from a young age, I've always enjoyed travel. So I think that's partly what attracted me to architecture, as well. So that's it in a sort of brief enough summary, I suppose, Scott.
Sure. Yeah. No, that's interesting, and I'm surprised you have much time to paint from everything else you were telling us there. So tell me. I mean, you were saying mainly the residential sector you work in, and I'm keen, from an ideal customer, but more of like an ideal project. What do you really love, getting your teeth into and enjoy working on the most?
It's great to, I suppose, find clients that are interested in design, obviously, that really want something exciting, and, just to have a passion for design, because then there's a real momentum on a project, whenever the client gets really excited and they're really into it, and they come to us with ideas too. And it feels more then like a collaborative process. Where, we're working together as a team. So that can create a really nice sort of experience for everyone really that's involved with the project. Even some of the consultants we work with, like structural engineer, energy consultants, on a regular basis, and we've built up good relationships with them too. So, they all become part of that team also. We're very interested in more sustainable approach to architecture as well. The passive house certification I mentioned earlier, I just achieved that earlier in the year, and that's really about designing buildings that use as little energy as possible, which is obviously really relevant at the moment.
Of course.
With obviously all the climate crisis discussions, but also the cost of energy and all that kind of stuff. So we're interested. Love looking out for opportunities for working with clients that want to create low energy buildings, or interested in sustainability and the use of natural materials. And it's becoming more common now to.
I was going to say, is it passive house? Is that a relatively new concept then in the industry?
It is here. It's been around for 20 odd years. It originally started in Germany, but certainly over the last few years, there's a lot more architects becoming certified in Ireland. There is, I suppose, an association with additional cost with that, but then the counter to that is the saving in energy bills.
Pay for itself
over the years. So it's just it's filtering through the industry, but it's actually potential clients becoming aware of what passive house is and how they can benefit. And certainly not everyone has to go for the passive house certification, but we can offer that ability to create a low energy house, whether it's certified or not,
Yeah, of course. And tell me then, what about on your industry, what sort of effect did COVID have, and what sort of measures did you have to put in place then?
So for us, I started the business in 2018. So
Okay.
we've been on just almost 4.5 years now, actually. And Ronan, my husband, joined in 2019. So COVID came and we were still quite early in the business and finding
Yeah.
our feet very much so. We had no office space. We were working from home still and no staff. So, and we also had just had our third child. We had a new baby in the house.
Yeah.
So it was quite a mix because we had two older children, a toddler and a sort of a 5-year-old in the house and a newborn baby running the business from home. And obviously then no help as well, no one to
Yeah.
sort of say, I'll come and take the kids
Of
for an
course.
hour.
Yeah. Absolutely.
That
Yeah.
option was gone. So I suppose from that point of view, it was a challenge, a real
Yeah.
challenge, because sort of 6 months in, the youngest was about 6 months. I went back teaching as well, part-time online, which
Yeah, 'cause you
had
didn't have enough going on.
no, not at all. But our biggest challenge with COVID was actually getting work done because
Yeah.
we were in the house. There was all the
Yeah.
noise, the distraction. We still had lots of work, but we just couldn't get the chance to sit down and
Yeah.
even focus on growing the business. It was literally
Yeah.
just trying to get work done. So by the start of sort of 2021 last year, we said, right, look, we just need to get an office space and we need to get a staff member because the
Yeah.
work just kept coming in. And that was fantastic for us then.
Yeah.
I'm in our office now. We're up near Belfast Castle up the Antrim Road in
Lovely.
Belfast, in a beautiful old listed building. It's a relatively small space, but it's perfect for us.
Yeah.
And we have a guy, Caelan McKelly, who came in to work with us, and he's been with us ever since. And just that, getting your own office space, getting the staff member in, separating home and work life,
Yeah.
and just learning that, right, you go home and you can forget about it again, and then everything's in the office, that separation.
Having the right environment for it all.
Absolutely, yes. Yeah.
That's fantastic. And so that's been a legacy that's sort of forced upon you, and it's worked out really well.
Mhm.
What would you say that the biggest learning you've had since you've been a business owner?
I think just at the start, I was on my own for the first year, and I was jumping at every chance for work and
Yeah.
realizing that actually not every opportunity is a good opportunity. And that
Interesting. Yeah.
sometimes we weren't I wasn't the right person to do that work either. The client
Yeah.
actually needed someone else. So just learning to be much more selective and have that initial, even a conversation over the phone, to really clarify what the client needed and explain to them also what we could offer and price points and what
Yeah.
the client's budget was. And, within 20 minutes, I can tell whether this is a potential job for us or not, or whether we are the right person for that client. And if we're not, we always try and refer another business.
Sure.
So whether it's directly to a builder, maybe they don't need an architect,
Yeah.
or maybe someone that just does some work part-time in the evenings, so that it's a more affordable service.
Yeah, I understand.
Because not everyone needs an architecture practice to do the work for them. But also as well, just being really clear on the level of service that we provide and the
Yeah.
difference between, say, for example, an architectural technician who can be
Yes.
fantastic at their job. Like I know some amazing architectural technicians, and the difference between employing then a chartered architect and
Yeah.
the level of service that's quoted for as well. So
Of course.
just being a bit more efficient at that whole process and really clear as well with potential clients.
Yeah, difficult thing to do, to turn down work in the early days when you really feel
Yes.
like you need it financially, but right thing
Yes.
to do in the long term.
Yes, and I spent a lot of time going out and visiting houses and sites, and then nothing came of it. So
Yeah.
I spent a lot of time, sort of out doing that, and realized actually it could be reduced down a lot by just a really a discussion over the phone.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so along your business journey, are there any favorite quotes or sayings that have served you well?
Yeah, well, I tend to be a bit of a perfectionist, which is not actually a good thing,
Okay. Yeah.
because I think a lot of architects fall prey to that, where we can spend a lot of time going over and over things to make them perfect. And
Yeah.
it happens in design industries a lot, When are you done? When are you finished?
Yes.
And being able to just draw the line. And even if you spent another 3 hours on it, the client might not necessarily be any happier.
Yeah.
You know, search what is perfect anyway. You're striving for something that doesn't really exist. So
yeah.
my quote that I live by and work a lot is "done is better than perfect." It's a Nelson Mandela quote.
Okay.
And it's to remind me that I have to decide, right, am I done now? And stop working and just take a step back. And with the client, have I done everything the client needs? And focus on what we're trying to achieve rather than, going over and over drawings and designs and coming up with more options. And I think it's part of getting too into the process as well, and sometimes the first idea is actually the best.
Yeah.
I think it's just something even in life that a lot of us can overthink things or overwork stuff, and it comes from a place of maybe low confidence initially and can lead to also even procrastination and finishing things.
That's sort of paralysis by analysis sort of thing, and too much choice nearly.
Yes, that's right. So it's just a reminder that you can decide whenever things are done and set it to one side and then chat to the client and come back and revisit if needed down the line. But so that's one that I keep in mind from Nelson.
I think that's important for every business to get client feedback. I mean, obviously you're working for them on their project, but whatever your service or product is, would you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. We've sort of broken down our process into smaller stages, and that's a learning as well, I would say, as a business, because if someone's coming to us at the start of an architectural project, it can become very overwhelming if you start explaining all the different steps.
Yeah.
So we kind of give a brief summary, but we give them a breakdown document.
Yeah.
And we will tell the client, right, we'll check in with you then, we'll check in with you again then. And we're constantly checking in and getting mini sign-offs from clients to make sure that they're happy before we move on to the next stage. And it's so important that you don't go too far, without coming back and checking with the client.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I mean, it's their journey at the end of the day, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's their house, it's their building, whatever it may be, and they're the ones making the final decisions at the end of the day. So it's important that they have that opportunity as much as possible to comment.
So what does the future look like for you now? You're 4.5 years in. Where do you want to take the business, and what do you see as the main challenges moving ahead?
I think for us, we have realized that actually working as a small architectural practice in Northern Ireland is not actually a very profitable business.
Okay.
And, I think that's something I would even advise other people that are thinking of starting their own business to really do their research, because I think as well, if you're qualified in something like we are, you study for a long time, you only see that path. If you're going to start your own business, you're going to be an architect, you're going to, be whatever it is you've qualified in, but is it actually profitable as a small business?
Okay.
And, we are very lucky that we have a very supportive network of other small architecture practices, and we help each other out a lot. But we all have the same issue, of how do we make this business at a small scale profitable? Because it's the smaller the project, the more time relatively that you have to spend on things.
Okay,
but fees don't reflect that,
Yes, I know what you mean.
So I think our challenge as an industry is actually how do we make small practices, sort of more profitable, and for us as a business, I suppose, how do we upscale then as well? And build that side of the business that we're really interested in, the sort of sustainable side of it. And we're trying to create collaborations with other practices as well to help with both those points, with the upscaling and getting more sort of sustainably focused projects in as well.
Yeah. So you mentioned there you study architecture and you're just on that path then. So what would you, if you went back in time, what advice would you give to an 18-year-old you?
I think, whenever I was 18, looking back now, I was a very, I would say quite insecure, and I just think I was a very, a straight A student. And I think that's back to that sort of perfectionism and having to do the best at everything. But I always doubted myself, and I think if I knew what I would achieve and the things I would do and experience and all the traveling I've done. And like I've lived and worked in different countries and spent 7 years in Australia and worked as an associate in a big practice out in Sydney, working on $1 million projects. And just I've done quite a lot of traveling as well. And just don't worry. That's what I'd say to myself. Don't worry, you're going to have an amazing time. There's going to be ups and downs, but just go for it.
All comes good, yeah.
Do something, just do it. And I think I still kind of go by that mindset. Although I think once you have kids, obviously there's a change there where it becomes a bit more about them. But yeah, I think just worry less and just get on with things and enjoy it, and lots to look forward to. Just
enjoy what you're doing at the time.
Yeah.
So last question, and if you'd started your business again, is there anything you would do differently?
Yes, I think I probably, in hindsight, it probably would have been better for us to have started our business when we didn't have children, because I suppose the timing of it all, just with kids, COVID, it was a really tough start.
Yeah.
I was thinking about this earlier, but then at the same time, the flip of that is if we manage to get through all that and we're still here,
absolutely,
then that's pretty good going. A lot of businesses wouldn't have survived that.
Yeah.
So
you take some confidence from that then.
Yeah, it's kind of it wasn't easy, and it was a real challenge, and there's been many times we've thought, what are we doing? But actually now we're coming out the other end of it. The kids are getting a bit older. Obviously COVID's hopefully that's all in the past, mostly anyway. And we're starting to really establish ourselves as a practice now. And we have a good spread of work and lots of work coming in. And so I look back and I think that was really tough what we did. Like if I'd known what I was going to have to sort of go through, I probably wouldn't have started the business.
At
the same time, maybe in the long run, we'll look back and think, you know what, that actually really set us up, because it was the toughest part.
And you got through it.
Yeah, we got through it, and we're still here.
Yeah. So worry less and back yourself. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly. Just believe in yourself, and I know it sounds cheesy, but I think a lot of people really give themselves too hard a time. We're really tough on ourselves, that little voice in your head, just go easy on yourself, be your own best supporter instead of knocking yourself down and criticizing yourself too much. It doesn't do anybody any good. And it's just that's it really, I suppose, Scott.
Listen, Lisa, I really appreciate that. Some brilliant stuff in there, and I think some people probably do need to hear some of it as well. So thanks for coming on and being so open and honest, and I really enjoyed hearing about your journey. Thanks again.
Thank you, Scott. That's great. Thank you.